Hi, today we're going to be talking about externalizing. Externalizing is basically helping a family see that one particular person is not the problem in the family. And as we all know, when we work with these families, the first thing they want to do is tell us their story. And that's really important because it helps them vent, it helps them describe what's been going on in their lives, but it's also a great way for us to build rapport with them. And after building rapport with a family, the next thing to do is to really listen to what they said, but also try to find ways that you can begin to externalize the problem. And by externalizing, what we're going to be looking at is how to basically draw the person out of the problem and let it become more of an outside force that has taken over in the family and is causing problems. By doing this, you're releasing the ownership of the problem, which, as we know, for kids can be a very overwhelming and very debilitating feeling at times when they feel like they are the sole cause of all the problems in their family. I don't think any of us would really want to feel that way. So externalizing is a really good tool to use because it allows them to start to see the problem as outside of the person. And in our case, that's usually the kid. Sometimes it can be the whole family, but a lot of times there is one identified person that comes up, and that's the kid we're working with. So how to externalize? It's really simple. Basically, as you are listening to their story, you ask questions. You ask questions that helps you see how you can personify this problem. For example, if a family talks about defiance, then you could start mapping the influence of the defiance on the family. So if Johnny is a defiant child, how can you start to see the effects of that defiance so that you can then take Johnny out of it to start looking at just the defiance by itself? And that sounds a little bit confusing, but it's actually really simple because what you're doing is you want them to start to see how defiance can get a hold of Johnny and how defiance then runs Johnny's life. And as most teenagers are, they don't want anything running their lives but themselves. So externalizing this a lot of times can help them see that they are actually losing control by acting the way they're acting. And sometimes that's the kick that they need to start looking at things differently. So the first step is just to ask a lot of questions so that you can see what the influence is on the family. The second thing is to start calling the problem by name. Instead of calling it Johnny or whatever the child's name is, referring to him or her as the problem, start referring to the real problem as the problem. And it could be defiance, it could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be cutting, it could be enuresis. Whatever the problem is, call it that so that they can start referring to it and seeing it as almost like another entity in the room as opposed to the person. A really powerful thing you can do is actually have the parents talk to the problem and put a chair in the room to symbolize the problem, and they then can speak to it. This then lets the kids see how the parents are actually feeling about something and the emotions behind it, which can be really powerful too. So call the problem by name is the second step. This is kind of hard because some people find it kind of awkward. They think it's kind of weird to start talking to anxiety as if it's a person. But the more you believe this, the more that you can see this working, the more natural it'll feel and the less awkward it will feel for the family. So this is one of those things where as a professional, you have to really believe what you're saying so that the family can get the most out of it. So call it by name after you've figured out what the problem really is. Refer to it as much as you can by the name that it has. And then the next thing is to start getting the family to see how they can get out from underneath the problem's control. And this is something that is going to be an ongoing process. This is not just something you do in one session and then that's it. It's something that you're going to continue to do throughout the course of therapy. And you want to help them see that this is something they'll need to continue to do even after therapy is over. So basically, you get them to band together to see how they can fight this common problem. And getting them all on the same side, getting them all united can be very powerful. You can do this in a very literal way, especially with younger kids, using army soldiers or getting them to line up literally in the room together against all on one side of the room, and put anxiety in the chair on the other side of the room, or put soiling his pants in a chair on the other side of the room, whatever the problem is that's dividing the family, and help them see how they can unite together. Also, encourage the parents rather, to work on this outside of therapy, so that the child can stop feeling like they are the problem and they can get out from underneath it. You gotta get the kid or the parent, whoever is the one that is holding on to the issue, you've got to get them to buy into this so that they can get out from underneath it and fight it along with the family. That is the goal here, is to promote a common cause that the whole family can fight together. So externalizing is a really simple thing to do with really powerful results. So this week, I want you to focus in some of your sessions on how you can take a client's problem, name it, get the family to buy into the fight, and do some creative things. See what you can come up with to get them to symbolize the fight, to symbolize what they're trying to do to overcome this problem that they've all decided to unite together against. And talk about it in a treatment team and see what you come up with. One last thing is that if you have children that maybe need to be more literal, to be more figurative, because they wouldn't think it's cool to line up against the problem or things like that, especially some of the older teenagers. You can do this in other ways, especially like poems or artwork, anything that shows how you can symbolize a battle. So I wanted to add that there at the end, that it doesn't have to be a literal thing you do in the context of therapy. It can be as creative as you want it to be. So see what you can come up with, and try this externalizing. And I think you'll find that it can be very freeing for the family, and also a really powerful tool for you as the professional. So as always, let me know if there are any questions, and the learning exercises will be below the presentation, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Bye.